Number 5. I mean, you hear it. We've been hearing that. I remember watching the draft as a kid hearing this. It's always been talked about. Character issues. It could be something as slight as, oh, this guy partakes a bit too much of the devil's lettuce, which at this point in time doesn't even really matter anymore. They don't even care. You could smash a handful of gummies in front of a player personnel director. They probably don't care much. It's probably actually a positive because it means you'll get better rest and recovery overnight. But character issues are always something that comes up. In all seriousness, it has come up as a in light of more serious issues the last couple of years, but hasn't proven more often than not to be that big an issue. Just ends up being a way for guys to ding players that they don't necessarily like more often than not. Number 5, the always dreaded character issues. Number 4, it's actually the first line in Diana Rossini's column this morning about the NFL draft at The Athletic.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear personnel guys say it a lot this time of year. Don't get cute. Don't get too cute, right? Don't overthink things. Don't be baited into making a stupid move. Don't try to do too much. This could also fall in line. I didn't list it, but let the draft come to you, right? Don't get too cute. Just let things happen, right? Go with the flow almost. You know how your board's set. You watch how things fall and you jump on the pick when it comes to you. And, you don't freeze in fear like you mentioned the Vikings did that one time and forget to pick for a good 20 minutes. So that's number 4. Don't get cute. Number 3 in draft cliches. This is one of my favorites. Foxhole guy. A foxhole guy. This is a guy you want next to you in the trenches. There is a classic for those of you that are fans of classic stand-up comedy. There is a classic George Carlin bit about the difference between football and baseball. And he goes through this long, drawn-out descriptive diatribe about all the cliches that are used to describe football and how militaristic it is. Foxhole guy, right there at the top of the pyramid for military industrial complex NFL cliches. This is a guy I want next to me in the foxhole. He's a foxhole guy. So that's number 3 for me. Number 2, because it used to remind me of Superman getting changed and jumping out of the phone booth, and now it just reminds me of Will Ferrell and Anchorman deciding that milk was a bad choice. The phone booth. I love a guy that can work in a phone booth, right?
Man.
I love him. It's basically just a guy that can work in tight spaces, right? Especially all of these end up coming back to offensive linemen, I've noticed too, a lot of them, because they are more descriptive ways to talk about a 325-pound, 6'6" guy who doesn't really look like he's doing a lot on tape unless you know what you're looking for. So you call him a foxhole guy, or you call him a phone booth guy. Either way, if a guy can work in a phone booth and he's a foxhole guy, Joe Alt right there, caliber type offensive lineman. You're taking him top 10, top 15 in the first round. That's number 2, the phone booth. Number 1 for me, it's a quarterback cliche. And all of our favorite draft cliches as we power rank them here on BetQL Daily. Eye discipline. And eye discipline always reminds me, Joe, of that old Seinfeld bit. Remember the episode where George gets caught looking at cleavage for too long? And Jerry says, George, it's like the sun. You can't stare at it. What are you doing? Eye discipline. I've been happily married for 18 years, Joe. My wife and I have been together for 2 decades now. Out in public, especially on one of those first warm summer afternoons here in the Northeast, maybe you're walking around downtown Pittsburgh during the Arts Festival. There's a lot of eye candy out there. As a married man, a happily married man, I've been practicing eye discipline since I was first in a committed relationship. Blinders are on, my friend. I know how to practice eye discipline. I am focused only on the task at hand, and it is not over there. Oh, okay. Caught a quick look. This is not Instagram. I can't sit there and stare at the thirst traps. I got to practice good eye discipline. Okay? So, number 1 in my favorite draft cliches, eye discipline.
What? But, I mean, you want to
But
talk about extreme numbers when you look at the peripherals.
mm-hmm.
The ERA is 11.57, but the expected ERA is 4.07. The xFIP is 3.57. So that's a fraudulent 11. It usually is. So
Still, that's an 11.
it's been bad. It's been bad. But as they were trying to ramp him up, get him ready for his start to the season, I did expect bad. I think we all did. And I know Jake's taking a victory lap on it, but I don't think anybody thought he was, when they were rushing to get him out on the field after finally signing the contract, that he was going to be lights out to start the year. It's interesting because okay. Okay. So now we're doing the one start sample size. Okay. That's what we're doing. If it will support your argument, fine. I will give you that one start. um, but Snell has a good history against this team. So how much do we read into it? Is it more about the way he's been trending? Do you want to read into the peripherals more? It's interesting. 77 at bats against the Mets. They're hitting only 208 against him. So he's got good history there. What do we want to trust? And we're now a few starts in. So we know
Right.
he's going to obviously improve. It's just, when does he end up turning the corner? Does it end up happening today?
So can I tell you what I like in this game before I let Jake go off on Blake Snell? Maybe if that's what he
Yeah.
still wants to do. I like matchups. I like Nimmo, for example, is 9 for 17 lifetime against Snell. Marte, 5 for 21, so the average isn't there, but he's got a couple of extra base hits in the mix. You could say the same for Lindor. Like, he hasn't had great success against Snell. I think he's like 5 of 32 lifetime, but 3 extra base hits in there, including a couple of long balls. Alonso, a pair of homers in the 5 hits he's had in 16 at-bats against Blake Snell. So that might be the angle I go in on, not necessarily fading Snell, not necessarily taking a side or even a total, just saying, hey, there's a couple of guys I like to do well today against Snell if they get an opportunity, especially if Snell stays in the game long enough for them to get a second at-bat against him.
So San Francisco's favored, so I assume that Jake's just fading that, right, Jake? Yeah,
Have to, right?
Yeah. 100%.
If there's one entity that I dislike more than Blake Snell, it's the New York Mets. And the history he has against them, it speaks volumes. You're right. But I went the same route Chris did, matchups. That's where I tried to fade Blake Snell. And I immediately looked at Pete Alonso because he does have good history, a couple of homers, a double. And then I looked at the prices. Like, usually you would think a Pete Alonso home run bases are terrible. Like, I went to the Pete Alonso home run number thinking it'd be like 3-1. There's a 675 out there on Pete Alonso to hit a home run. Plus 150 for 2+ total bases. When was the last time you saw that? Have we ever seen a 6-1 on Pete Alonso? Like, am I the idiot? What am I missing here? When have we ever seen better than 450 on Pete Alonso? This is almost 7-1. And I'm not saying I checked, I double checked, I triple checked that this was not first homer of the game. It's anytime home run. Plus 675 at MGM.
I love it.
And he's not cold. He had a double yesterday. He had a home run on Sunday. He's gone 2 for 4 in each of the last 2 games in the series. Like, what am I missing here?